heard murmurs of Silas support being able to just go
How big is that
after
smile
shot.
on your face right now?
8 seconds to go.
I'm not quite sure, but this could be a Pantheon top lane. 3 seconds remaining. It might be. Okay.
No, of course not.
All right, Gary.
Yep, she certainly can. We'll have to see how this all goes because this is an unorthodox team composition. This is, of course, Griffin. They're very happy to do it, but SKT, it's only a little pony on the top side of the map that's really changing things up from what SKT have been playing this entire split long. Ladies and gentlemen, you can feel it. Game number 1 is right around the corner. Griffin on our blue side, SKT on the red. Your champions have been locked in.
Don't you judge me for my mistakes. Taking as much as I can take.
Oh, that is going to be that first blood coming in. We couldn't even let the SKT fans cheer because they lost Marta in the first minute of the game.
And it went to Viper. He's gonna be so close to being able to just upgrade into the Spell Thief's next item.
Won't be able to get it unless he sells all of his pots. So unlikely it's going to be a first buy, but you're right, that first back is going to be nice, and with the rock surf, he can do it quickly. The fans couldn't even shout for SK Telecom T1. The T1 fighting chant. It is T1 fighting, by the way, guys, not SKT fighting historically. That's not an updated
Yes,
chant.
that's been
It
forever.
couldn't even be sent out because they sensed the same danger that sadly Marta face check there. Now you know when you go for something non-meta, the first thing the enemy team says is, let's get as much information at level 1 as possible. That information cost Marta his life.
Well, it also cost them their blue buff. As you can see, SKT are going to lose that one. Vertical jungling could ensue here, as Clear did make it towards that top side of the map as we check in on the runes.
As we are taking a look at the runes, interesting. Talia going for the electrocute. They are going for kills down here in bottom lane.
Well, you can see not going for CS because, of course, has started off with the Frostmancy start.
And that's the part of this lane that, of course, that lives up the tables. We finally see more Frostmancy in the LCK. It was led, of course, early in the season. The nerf came in and only possible to run this AP support item in the duo lane. No longer a solo lane option because of the need to be proximity to an ally. And while BBQ Oliver's was still playing this exact duo, the Talia and the Pantheon, and we saw a smidgen after the fact from Kingzone, who were playing Victor bot lane. I was calling for more of the Frostmancy because, as LS is going to be able to illustrate both as a concept and in terms of this duo lane, it just means you get more gold on a duo. And this is a support, and I use support in inverted commas, that wants to build straight up damage from gold.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really like about what they're doing here in the early game is Tarzan, he starts off by stealing the enemy blue to guarantee that Talia and Pantheon can do whatever they want to do.
And it's the Griffin turret dive timing as well. They do this on blue side all the time.
And they now have a Pantheon who just accidentally tanked the turret. That could be a bad news story, but the stun is still going to come in. Marta could be falling down for the second time in 3 minutes, but no. The flash comes forward and the teleport to save SKT.
And that was actually something where the Pantheon passive going down probably caused a half-second hesitation. The teleport, of course, is used, so a little bit of pressure is relieved. The good news story is specifically for the Silas, who gets a free push on top side, and Hecarim has to trot all the way back before a lot of movement speed and the ability to get there quickly.
And this is going to be a little bit good for Griffin here, though, as Sword got a lot of pressure relief. He got a free recall as well, and this means Khan's behind.
So we need to pick your brain. There's a lot of Frostmancy duos you could run. We saw, for example, Victor Tankent, Victor Braum, that sort of stuff. Why these two champs? Why Talia Pantheon? Because I look at them and say some shove, global, some CC synergy, but this is a duo that literally your team has put on the radar, and if not for BBQ, we would not see it from Griffin. We'll hold it for now, though. First, talk about this turret dive. The passive goes down, and suddenly this becomes hard.
Yeah, Pantheon has to leave the turret aggro just a little bit sooner than he would have liked to. He could have opened that up with just a Q or an auto attack and then convert into the W, get his passive back. And now coming back into this, Pantheon Talia, the scariest thing about it is their ability to just delete you with their CC lockdown. that's just a point and click. Pantheon stuns you with this point and click, Talia knocks you back in, and then you can't escape. It's too much damage. And you know, I nicknamed the team composition on Twitter the Avengers, because the way that they enter team fights later and move around the map, all of a sudden you just see the circle and then the Weaver's Wall comes right in, and they just turn the tides.
But what is it at the cost of? Because they don't have a ranged AD carry. They don't have someone who builds attack speed, crit, AD, scales up everything, including levels in the late game. There is no replacement for that in this team composition. So are there trade-offs the viewers should be looking for as the game goes longer?
Yeah. Weak Baron taking potential, and then also a heavy reliance on Baron or Elder to truly close out the game.
So you can't do it fast, but you really need it.
Yeah.
That's,
so
that's a little
that is
bit
the trade-off. Yeah.
Oh, we'll see whether Griffin can actually snowball this one out. So far, so good, apart from that dive going a little bit awry. Clid has made his way down here. No teleports available on any SKT members, so if that dive did happen again, it would be dangerous.
So the GP10 item has been upgraded, so definitely a focus on harass for the Talia. The Pantheon, as you notice, been doing the heavy amount of CS. We'll see the gold totals over time. Tarzan's trying again, but Clid's well aware of this one.
Predator is going to come forward. Lahen's actually walking well and truly past as the tunnel comes down. Teddy getting frisky underneath this turret. Already one turret plate has fallen down here for Griffin as they keep the pressure on the bottom side.
And the scary thing about this as well is that Ezreal, he doesn't have teleport, so all the pressure that's able to be exerted early on can be really scary.
Yeah, Chovy is going to go into the Shroud.
This is sad.
And just gets out very easily.
That was definitely the moment that the Shroud came in at the same time as Rune Prison. There was never going to be enough damage to even force out an ult there. Really nicely done by Chovy.
And Faker's locked into lane. He has no mana. Yes, he has a tier of the Goddess, but he doesn't have the teleport available. He's out of fuel. Chovy's feeling fantastic.
And also, Teddy's doing fine here in this lane, harassing Lahen's out. Got Viper moving up to try and challenge for this blue buff. Denial onto Faker is exactly what Griffin wants to do, and they should be successful here. Clid is going to give it up. Control Ward Vision was down, but Prey Seeker is not going to find anything, and 1,000 gold is now the lead for Griffin.
And now Clid kind of has to just park a tent in the bot lane and be a sweeper for the Olaf. That's his real role in this game, and it's at the cost of having any pressure mid and top side, because they've been already threatened for a turret dive 3 times, and Tarzan says, thank you very much, I'll have an Infernal, and Sword wants a pony.
Exactly, 300 health now. On to Khan, he's in trouble, no teleport available, we'll have a turret here. Clid waiting around, ultimate's going to be traded here, as that's going to be the solo kill for Sword. It's traded back, but they get everything for that one.
And I mean, that was just a fantastic pickup there by Sword. He got the Ignite off the Hecarim as well. Meanwhile, his jungler is taking the Infernal, and now the lane's coming into him.
And it's even better than that for Sword. He has a teleport advantage as well, so if he wants to be back in lane and flexing, he can. Khan sticking around on 400 health. We see double pony ultimates. That's a lot of onslaught of shadows. The end result is that Clid wipes away, but the gold doesn't go to the Hecarim. Actually did pick up the kill with Ignite. That's important. He needed that gold. Otherwise, you kind of got nothing and lost everything as the Hecarim.
Yeah, Clid actually didn't get in there quite quick enough. That it was able to get an assist, I think, with a Prey Seeker that was cheeky early.
Thank you very much to the observers. Around 280, I think the quest was towards being completed. I actually was able to time this out by watching the Victor game that Deft played. The moment that you have, and he started, I believe, Doran's Ring, and then went straight into Frostfang. Frostfang took 6 minutes to upgrade in a pretty easy matchup where you could just use it off cooldown. We shouldn't be expecting much after 10 minutes that the Talia can start CSing, and that's already with 1 Dirk on the table, and we know all about Pantheon. Even in the early game, every sword he buys gets him closer to a big item.
Yep, needs as many serrated Dirks as he can possibly find, basically, just in order to keep himself as relevant as possible. Yeah, the quest generally, if you're 50 CS behind and the quest completes, that's when you feel good, right? In a Frostmancy matchup.
Yeah, and Griffin, they had a lot going for them early on, but I really want to talk about how well Teddy and Mata are doing, despite all the difficulty, though, in the bottom lane, and also being down the teleport. And so that means that Teddy, he's going to be a lot stronger in late game team fights.
So I have a pretty specific question that I think you might be best to answer on this, because of course, your team has played this duo lane a lot. They chose to push and dive again and again. They were not looking to freeze. I know you love freezing. Is that the right way to play this thing? Because it's been a pressure. The reason there's 75 CS is that Ezreal's never been attempted to be zoned from CS. Do you like that or not, given the sort of game we're in?
I like what they tried to do early on, but then I think after the second failed attempt, that's when you have to start trying to bring it back in. Because look, they're getting no plate damage. They're playing ping pong with Ezreal in bottom lane, and that's not what this duo wants to do.
The alternative is that you're always in flash W into E range for the Talia.
In a long lane.
Pantheon can't be dodged. He can flash W with a target engage. Then Talia doesn't even hit a skill shot. He'll be able to hit it. So the freeze option is there, given that Braum is kind of just wishing the laning phase would end. We didn't see that. The cost is, though, with lanes pushing, the benefit is you can roam, and there could be a lot of people top.
Well, we're going to get the dive bomb coming in. Lehens does jump, but Khan has a bit of a speed up, and he just canters away, and everything's fine.
Onslaught of Shadows was back up as well, so that felt like a really low percentage play, but it is a high percentage play to outnumber on the top side and get Rift Herald.
Yeah, Shelly available in still a few minutes on those turret plates. Speaking of which, SKT going to get a few down here as Sword turns up. Glacial Fissure will be available.
And one of the things that I really like that they're doing is they're lane swapping 2 minutes prior to the Dragon, utilizing having all the numbers on the left-hand side of the map. They get the Herald, and then they should, in theory, be able to swap back and get that Infernal Drake, convert it with Herald into place.
And it might even be the Bazinga, because you can also put it down and maybe get a free Inferno while people have to defend the Rift Herald charge. There's a potential for a 1-2-3 here that blows open the gold, and we kind of want Griffin to keep this a high-tempo game with their lack of a ranged AD carry and the fact that Ezreal's been farming. I feel like if you're not freezing, you got to go all in on the aggression, and this seems to fit the bill.
Yep, that certainly is that. It's going to be first turret going down, and SKT run out of minions on the bottom side, so that tempo that Griffin do have the advantage in is going to be even higher. Now in a turret, under fire, Shelly's going to be able to tank this one up. Already half health, Demolish procs coming in, and 3 members of Griffin will easily rip this turret apart.
And what's a Hecarim going to do? He can't even walk up to the minion wave to Q it. Khan watches on in horror.
Well,
at the
Sword's
same
having
time,
the opposite
he hasn't even
problem.
lost the turret.
So it's holding it,
Everything's fine for this guy.
This is fantastic right now for Griffin. The Infernal's in their favor. They get the top tier 2 economic turret. Shelly, I don't know if she just got one more charge, but now they're going to have priority in tempo leading into the second Infernal Dragon with a kill composition.
And I'm so happy that they didn't listen to LS's brain and freeze. No freezing allowed. Because you know what Papa Smithy likes? Aggressive League of Legends. I've been saying it and shouting it. I like to see the IG plays.
Into the
I like to see G2 because there's so much gold in the early game that disappears at 14 minutes. If you don't pick up the turret plates, sorry, that gold is lost to time. And right now, Griffin is not going to push on to the full 15, but they're going to look to get as many turret plates as possible and double Inferno. So we got the early, we got the late, we got the cake, we ate it too, we blogged about it. Everything's coming together for the side of Griffin.
Yep, and you got heaps of revenue from the ads on your blog. Oh man, everything's coming up. Griffin in this particular series. Can they actually lock down the Infernal Drake is our next question. Like you were talking about, should have been able to get a reset, get themselves over there. But SKT weren't even able to get one turret, so they can just theoretically go back into a laning phase now where a horse has nowhere he can safely be.
And this strategy, the fact that it's against Ezreal, who's pushing outside of level 1, is quite weak. Is it wrong that I'm sitting here and once again remembering a Jungle Heimerdinger game? Because this is a strategy, Frostmancy in general, people don't like because it kind of breaks the game. All the AP support bot lane players like, you're ruining my item, like I might not be able to use this the way I like to use it because it's an exploit of something in the game, but it's there for everyone to use. No one in Korea especially, apart from BBQ Olivers, have been making these plays, and now Griffin have just more gold and the potential with the quest soon to be cashed in for even more gold. Then really, it shouldn't be 24,000 gold in the game at 13 minutes, but here we are. Griffin are really pushing the boundaries of the current meta.
And Griffin are really looking like they want to just get this Infernal Drake. And I want to point out something interesting about Silas.
Okay, Carly's on a back timing here, so we'll hold on to that.
He has teleport too.
SKT, they should be able to burst this one down. It is taken by Cliff very close as Tarzan tries to launch forward. Realm Warp gets SKT out of there, but have they gone far enough? The man drop comes forward, doesn't do too much. Onslaught of Shadows into the back line as Sword gets himself into his Zhonya's. Can he escape? The answer is yes. The dash comes back up, and now Viper is here to give him some cover fire. Griffin, they make it out, but SKT, they don't lose anyone.
And great timing to talk about the zone. It's because we got an engaged Silas. He just wants to get in the backline and be a pseudo tank. He's got no Alistar ult to steal. He's just about contesting backline and forcing fights that look unlikely, given the fact that outside that the engage isn't so strong.
Yeah, and Griffin right there, you saw that they wanted to take that team fight. They used Silas's teleport. The Pantheon ult wasn't quite in range, and so the engage was a little bit wonky. SK Telecom managed to get away on Scathe, almost got turned on, but not quite. They find themselves with an Infernal, and another one's coming up next.
And I'm gonna actually accentuate your flame. I feel like this Pantheon's ulting like a support player and not like a carry. You gotta ult under the turret, you gotta give them no escape. Two ults
like
in a row. Yeah, I've been a little bit too defensive. 60 health odd on the Infernal, almost a completion here, but it's two almost in a row against a team who's looking to scale, and they don't actually gain anything through all of these buttons being pressed.
Yeah, this is the second time now he's ulted where they were rather than where they'll be. And so how much experience does it really have on the Pantheon? You have to wonder, seeing these ultimates, what's going to happen later on in the game, because the ultimates are going to become really important.
And I love that you bring that up, because how many games can you scrim with this before you scrimmed it too much and you've overexposed it?
Yeah.
People aren't supposed to talk, but everyone is human. Things get out. You have to be very specific about how often and how you prep. We heard the listen-in with Double Lift and Core JJ talking about how they hadn't played the trio of champions that got them over the line, the Sona, Taric, X, over the line, more than just 1 or 2 scrims. And that's the reality is, there's a chance he has less than 9 scrim games on Pantheon support, let alone anything more.
That being said, Pantheon isn't necessarily the most difficult champion to play.
Hey, for a support player, it's quite different. He has to CS.
Oh, that's true.
He does get an easy CSing thing, kind of like Zed, with the fact that he has to execute, so you can even be a support player. There you go, support players. Roll swap to Pantheon top, not so bad.
He has played solo queue, though. He knows what Pantheon's supposed to do.
But you can't show the Pantheon really either, right? Just like, I looked for Sona Taric, no one dared to play that in solo queue.
That's true. Because you'd have to be duoing as well the entire time, as True Shot Barrage narrowly avoided there by the Griffin players.
Do you know the only people that played Sonar Taric in solo queue?
Who?
Deft and Tushin.
There you go.
He gave up on that real quick, though. So maybe not the best of experiences from teammates here as...
We got a round warp. It's going to come forward. Sword stole it, though. He's going to use it to try and get out, but Clit is there to pick him up. But Skond is going to get him out of the way there, and things are fine.
Giving you the pat on the back, play-by-play for Silas game. So hard. This ability.
Oh, wait, who's the other guy? Realm warping where?
You thought Zoe was counterfeiting a lot of things.
Oh,
we need to investigate the black market trading of Silas. This guy's got all sorts of stuff up his sleeve.
Well, Seismic Shove comes in the mid lane as we've got, I think this is the bottom lane, but it's getting a little bit confusing here in my Summoner's Rift.
So let's check in. We had a lot of time. We both got excited. Let's like, yes, I know all about this. We're 17 minutes in. The last execution didn't get them Infernal. No kills, no deaths. When does Griffin start to say, well, if we don't get that Baron by 22, things are struggling? And is it still the same equation of 2 minutes before Baron spawns, get the Baron, win, don't lose? Where are you at right now with where the items are and how the game is playing out?
Right now, I think that, I mean, a lot of people are looking at this. They're seeing Griffin with a 2,500 gold lead, 1 Infernal Drake, another one coming up. I'm looking at it like Griffin is in a do-or-die situation right now, because I think if this game goes another 9-10 minutes, it's become so hard for SK Telecom
Are there item purchases that we're looking for
and
here?
Upgrades.
Because is there anything in particular? What is the break point where you're like, oh, that's done? Like, I understand you want to see just in general 2-3 item builds on more people, but is it the front line? Is it the back line? Like, who needs the items to start winning against this team?
The Talia and the Akali are going to be the main focal points, because the Olaf building the Redemption with the Cinderhulk, he's not going to deal a lot of damage. Pantheon having to build and purchase so many control wards isn't going to get to the Duskblade of Drakthar until way later in the game. So it's very easy. Look at the amount of magic resistance on the side of SK Telecom. How does Talia and Akali deal damage? And the Silas especially, when he went for such a utility build. This game is heavily favoring SKT right
It
now.
almost feels like this might be all about it. If the Infernal fight here is a bloody one, I think we might know who's going to win game one.
Yeah, SKT looking for their second one. Teleport's going to come in from Griffin. They do not want to give this one away. It's Chovy. He's going to join the fight. Half the health bar now on the Dragon as Lahens just happy to walk on over, gets Khan out of the fight as Redemption does come down. It's going to be a 50-50 as Tarzan is in this pin. His sword goes into his first Sonias. The steal comes in. Griffin have locked down the Dragon, and Faker in the back of the pin is trying to kill Sword, but he's so frustrating finally. Teddy locks him down, and now Tarzan. Stopwatch ain't going to be enough, and Chovy is now waiting in the gates, but SKT don't care. They get themselves into the correct position. Pick themselves up a double for their man in the mid lane, and SKT may have turned it.
Griffin get the steal, but SKT's able to make it front to back. This is the time they were looking for.
Yeah, this
and
is
they want
another
this last
realm warp.
kill.
It's Faker's one this time. His True Shot Barrage is even going to help try and take Chovy down. Remember, there's no turrets up here, guys, so this might be the great escape, but Khan has a lot of movement speed. Chovy's just so scary, they don't even want to fight it.
Wow.
They're actually going to let him go. They're valuing a full reset over killing the Akali, and because it's 20 minutes, if you waste too much time chasing the Akali, who is so hard to get to, things can go wrong. Big thing to note here is, yes, the objective is stolen, but to do that, SKT can get into a defensive formation. Then it looks like every other team fight you've seen at home that you played in, where the AD carry gets to free hit and the threat level goes down.
Yeah, and the thing here is that Chovy, he just can't get into the fight until it was too late. Teddy jumps into the Dragon Pit. Chovy jumps immediately at the opportunity to enter into the backline, but it doesn't matter because the backline is now the front line, and Griffin doesn't have any members remaining, and they just don't have the damage to win these. They got the cherry on top with the Infernal, but they're not out of the woods yet.
And if you're not outnumbering with your globals, then things get so much more honest with Griffin. Suddenly it's, wait, Talia can't do damage to backline, so you can only kill the front. As Teddy's going to be able to get out. Wait, it's Pantheon. We know it's very famous how his scaling really falls away in 5v5 fights especially. None of the champions on Griffin really excel in 5v5s. Most of them are skirmish and 2v2 champions. So because of that, when we're seeing honest objectives to be fought over, think Baron, think Infernal Drake, you don't outnumber, everyone shows up on RSVPs, and suddenly Griffin is looking very mortal in game number one.
Well, right now they're looking for some control around this Baron, and they have managed to achieve it. Khan split pushing on the bottom side with teleport in hand will mean that SKT can keep pressure on this map. But Griffin, as you can see already, it's not like they're getting vision around the Baron and starting it. They're getting vision around the Baron and then trying elsewhere to keep things under control, because like you were saying, LS, it's hard to take the big purple worm as this composition.
And now are we already at the point where it needs to be sleight of hand from Griffin?
Wow.
So Griffin needs to show one magic trick and then reappear in the top side and steal a Baron. Like, how do you problem solve your way out? Because they didn't play to our expectation early game, but got a really nice lead. It felt like they could ride it through, but suddenly it does feel like SKT are liking their position.
Yeah, SK Telecom, I think, are just in a fantastic spot right now. If you're Griffin and you run through all the scenarios, what can you really hope for? You can't pick off any of the members on SK Telecom. They all have too much magic resistance, and it's too easy for them to just remain slippery against the Griffin team comp. You can't suddenly Weaver's Wall in and do
Another
a Pantheon ult. They'll
comes
just
in,
run.
Faker jumps on over, but it does get interrupted. Faker gets his passive shield. It's down very low. Now finally goes into the stopwatches of the Weaver's Wall. Actually blocks Chovy. Has to flash to get over the top. Marta goes golden. And is Faker falling down? Marta the next one to follow, and SKT can't re-enter this fight.
It was so big that they could stop Faker from getting out because they could actually set up a very different scenario to Infernal. They were able to keep SKT from grouping as a 5, from defending their AD carry, putting out max damage, and this is what you can do. We talked about magic trick, sleight of hand. Yeah. A realm warp here interrupted, and suddenly Weaver's Wall and all other temporary terrain. Watch this and notice how different it is to the fight that SKT won around Infernal.
And even though Clid was shadowing Faker, he was still just way too far up. And so the Pantheon ultimate and the Weaver's Wall gets access to him in situations that normally it shouldn't happen because SK Telecom, they know that this is coming. Yeah, this is the only way SKT can lose the game. And you know, against Kingzone, this is how they were starting to falter at certain points. Khan and Faker needlessly overextending for waves without the coverage of vision. Getting picked off.
And that's why we're picking your brain, and you're going through the 100 scenarios, and you're like, wait, 91 of them say SKT win from here. But is it about the mistakes from a team, or is it about the team looking at that and saying, all right, 91 things are gone from our team, we've got 9 left, which one is going to work and when? And I think that Griffin have shown that they are not a team just waiting for an enemy mistake. They're trying to force mistakes. It doesn't always work, but that was one of those few scenarios that gets them some breathing room. Still work to be done.
Yeah, also SKT may not have as much preparation against this particular bottom lane. There's a reason why Griffin have pulled it out in this particular series, so SKT might not necessarily know that they can just wait things out and be able to just straight up win.
One of the things I want to talk about right now is Mountain Drake. We talked about how the Griffin team composition can't really do Baron. Well, Mountain will certainly help it.
What about the fact that it is a Drake, though, and it will force a 5v5 fight that we've already seen doesn't necessarily go their way? There are extra items. Hex Drink is done. Everyone's buying double magic resist at this point. So yes, they really wanted LS, and it does help their primary win condition, but how much are we going to index into it? Is it a Tarzan steal attempt? They want SKT to start it and then just send Tarzan, hopefully, on a one-way trip to steal it and get out. But I think SKT are smelling a rat, and they're being a lot more defensive.
Oh, Sword was looking for it. With the abduct, Realm Warp's going to come in as Faker joins this party. Sword survives just because of that Zhonya's that he had available, but that's a big button and means that Griffin are going to struggle to engage against this SKT comp.
Now, no ult is used, and he has the Glacial Fissure, so E into R is actually a lot of crowd control and a potential initiation tool. It's not quite Onslaught of Shadows, but he does actually have that important ultimate as face-checking that brush is at your peril.
Yeah. Tarzan loses about half of his health bar. Chovy clearing out some control wards here as SKT do need to be careful. There's the Weaver's Wall.
It doesn't last that long anymore, though.
Yep, SKT need to try and dive over this one. Khan in fantastic flanking position as Sword's trying to keep him out of there. Are we going to go for the smite here? Can Clid get himself into this pit? They're getting it down very, very low. Mata misses the ultimate, unfortunately, as Chovy's over there. Good knockback comes in. It is going to be picked up by Griffin. And they just flash their way out. They're happy to grab and go.
SKT doesn't pull the trigger. They've got the comp, and they seem to simulate a 5v5, but they're more looking for chance picks with the Glacial Fissure, and after the Glacial Fissure was used, SKT kind of gave up on a full fight.
Yeah, they gave up on the full fight. They looked to come into mid lane, clear the mid wave, and then raise the mid-tier 1 turret. They're going to get the Scuttle Crab in front of the Baron, so now they're going to know if Griffin try to start it, or is SK Telecom okay? They're just going to clear out the vision.
I want to illustrate item-wise that, yes, Yoma's Ghostblade was there for a support, and you're like, here's the carry items. That plan, after those few mid-game fights went away, notice the itemization now coming through from Lahed. He is a stun. Maybe, if he comes in super late, gets a chance kill, but he's nothing else. He can tank Baron a little bit better, but it just plays into the fact that 5v5 is all SKTs, but they're not there.
Yep, well, Clid is going to try and come in for the 50-50. Can he actually get the steal? Realm Warp once again going to try and put Faker in the pit, but no, it's just for the vision. He gets on over, but he's unable to get the steal. Ultimate flies forward from Clid. He flashes to get himself out, but not even Sword is going to die as Teddy very aggressively dives into the Baron pit. But Griffin, once again, it's the grab and go!
And SK Telecom, they're trying to stop the backs, but they're not going to be able to. And now, Griffin, they found their way back into the game. They have to do a lot with the Baron.
SKT full reset at 26 minutes. Only Rek'Sai was around, and yes, Rek'Sai has the ability to see a Baron stop better than most, but it became a chance contest, and it's one of those things where it was basically a 50-50 Baron, right? But let's go back to what LS, the foremost expert on Taliyah Pantheon, literally, we're not even bigging you up here, this is the truth.
It's just objectively true, yeah.
We know that if they don't get the Baron, they lose the game. So a 50-50 chance right now when you can't win team fights is way better than not winning a team fight that you can't win and then not getting the Baron anyway. So they roll the dice and they have to go for it.
Exactly. It's either going to be 10-90 or 50-50 at the Baron. They rolled the 50-50 knowing that it's the best chance that they have. Mountain Drake possibly helps out there as well, shredding away at it. And now with the Baron, they have more time in this game.
And a 2-level advantage on their jungler as well, so Tarzan had a few extra hundred of damage to try and help secure that Baron.
And some teams can't recognize their best moment because they're looking for the flawless moment, the 90-10 play. This was a 55-45 play, a 60-40, maybe just an honest to God 50-50. But if they don't take it, they lose. And we saw Origin in this spot against G2, needing to pull out a Baron, not getting there, and then losing due to a lot of other stuff happening afterwards. They missed their window. Griffin didn't really have a window. They're basically robbing a place.
Yeah.
They robbed a
Chovy.
Baron. As, Khan and Clid need to consider their options.
Yeah, Chovy making it look like Akali wasn't actually nerfed, as he's just playing around underneath this turret in the Shroud.
Professionally undefeated 7-0
7-0.
on the Akali.
Yep, True Shot Barrage was, I believe, swords, as it flew through and hit his own player.
Well, at this point, though, look at the amount of work that Chovy's managing to get done on his own. He's a one-man army here in top lane. And he got so much chip damage. Finally, the mid-tier 1 turret's going to fall. But the silver lining here for SK Telecom is they only have to weather the storm for another minute. And then Griffin is going to have to repeat the same song and a dance.
But remember, if Akali has 2 lane assignments where she wins, because right now Akali's looking pretty fearsome in both lane assignments. I think Ryze hits an item break point where he can out-trade an Akali, but it's not always reliable. If Akali can win both side lanes, the one thing Griffin will always do is outnumber first, because they've got all the globals, right? They're able to find picks. So if Akali is a 1, the other 4, it may not be conventional. It certainly doesn't crack turrets very well. It does do some things well. And again, you're looking for the low percentages, but Griffin need to prop themselves again, because they were already in such a hole. They managed to pull off 2 big moments, the Infernal, the Mountain, and yes, the Baron, and yet we're still looking at so many futures where SK Telecom's standard comp works against a comp that has a lot of creativity.
And this is, again, I mentioned it just a moment ago, that a way that SK Telecom is faltering in this game, identical to the way that Kingzone were managing to pick them apart inside of the games and wiggle their way into potentially winning situations. And then SK Telecom, they patched up their faltering in the mid-late end stage, and they managed to pull through. Are they going to be able to do that against Griffin?
Well, LS, you had me at wiggle. Fun word. Great, best word we've used on cast so far. How do you wiggle? Is it just try to make something happen around the 1 Akali, or is there any other wiggle room? Because it's another Mountain Drake, which, yes, is nice, but it feels like we're running out of things that SKT will get Magic. There's no more rabbits to pull out the how it feels. I feel like we've seen so many Magic tricks, we're getting bored of Magic. We want some League of Legends.
Yeah, well, Weave as well is going to come in. Preyseek is not going to stop that one from coming down, and Clid has no want to head towards this Dragon Pit at all. He had the smite, had everything available, but wanted to hold on to his life as SKT feeling like their backs are against the wall. Sword's going to transition here.
And you're pointing to what I wanted to point to. I feel like a trade, if you can defend Baron for another 3 minutes, the chance of getting a super duper high roll Elder trade for a Baron, defending 2 sides of the map as a 5v5 champion, 5v5 comp like SKT's, is actually really, really hard. There's a limited amount of vision to defend 2 sides, and remember that there is going to be more vision at all times available. Another benefit of Frostmancy, as you have those extra wards, and even the spotting ward on the Talim.
Yeah. It's all coming up Griffin here when it comes to controlling objectives, but we still know that SKT, they have a team fighting composition. They theoretically should have an easier time running front to back, but Griffin haven't let them team fight for the last 15 minutes of this game.
And again, just like I was saying, front to back team fight, predictable fights happen around an objective you must contest. In 3 minutes 50, there's 2. And so maybe the fight doesn't have to happen for Griffin.
Well, right now, they're just trying to put Chovy in a side lane. The Akali has pushed that one all the way up. Mid lane as well is now being dealt with by Viper and Lehens. And Sword's going to happily deal with this minion wave heading towards the inner turret. Outer falls for SKT, so they move themselves within touching distance of the gold. About 3,000 is going to be the lead here for Griffin. And at 33 minutes, that's basically nothing.
Yeah, and SK Telecom, they have all the priority right now surrounding this Baron. It's coming up in 5 seconds. But side lanes have to be fixed. You can see the Faker not quite in position. He has the teleport available to him too. But I feel like we're just going to see a team fight. And now, interestingly, normally, this would be a bad position for a normal team comp. But remember, Weaver's Wall and Pantheon Ultimate. Doesn't matter if you control these nooks and crannies.
Khan's already down to about half health here, as Faker did use the Realm Warp to get himself into the Baron Pit. Now Sword running away from Teddy, who is certainly a man who deserves a lot of respect at this stage. Clid looking for a knock-up, won't find Lehens, who has GA, has the passive.
My read is Griffin wants to defend Baron. I don't think they can start a 1 objective. So watching some of these plays, I'd like the audience to take that into consideration, that I believe Griffin is just looking to stop Baron being taken because they can't allow that 5v5. For now, they get SKT away, they clear some control wards, they buy some time to mean there's 2 big objectives on the map.
Yep. 2 teleports for both teams as well, guys. So Chovy on this in the side lane, Faker as well was up towards the top side. They can be there at any time. Khan as well now is going to be taking this blue buff, and then will also be able to enter any fight that SKT want to. Hands it over, in fact, to Teddy.
Gives it over to Teddy. The Baron's still alive on the map, and like Papa was talking about, with Elder and Baron both being up on the map, you're able to offer a proposition to SK Telecom and propose a trade. And obviously Griffin, they want to get the Elder, because for Elemental Drake, Elder Dragon, they can just then actually teamfight SK Telecom and plow right through them.
But the other thing is, you're even okay with getting the Baron and giving Elder to SKT, because if that's Bloodless, the buff strength on SKT is just 1 Infernal, which is obviously the one you want if it's going to be one, but it's going to be a decent trade. Here we go.
Yep, staying over the side of the wall. Mata does break it though, and there's the knockup. Mata finds it this time. Lands down to the GA teleport from Griffin as Chovy has finally found the backline. But you can see it's Griffin trying to hold this one off. Khan goes golden, gets the ultimate off an SKT. They found the team fight they wanted, and they should be able to find the Baron a minute before the Elder.
They punch the Magician in the face and say, we're fighting now, and the Boxer is going to be the one that profits. The minion wave, though, is being proxied. The game will not end here, but that is the sort of fight Griffin can't afford to let happen.
And Griffin now, I mean, they're going to have to do the smoke and mirrors to come back into the game. SKT, they're going to pick up the Baron. This is going to convert into Elder. How does Griffin come back now at this point?
It was so sneaky. It was such a ninja maneuver. For the last 20 minutes of this game, Griffin has been avoiding SKT at every turn. Finally, SKT managed to get a bite into them. And it feels like now it's so much more difficult for Griffin to repeat.
Defending Baron is all about posturing, and we know they have no ace up their sleeve. They cannot win front-to-back 5v5 team fights. Teddy is able to just free hit while Khan gets an amazing flank here. The timing on the onslaught shadows after the stopwatch is genius, because if he had ulted earlier, his teammates wouldn't have been in position to actually pick up the kills. They would have gotten less deaths on the side of Griffin. Now they've got the Baron and they say, Griffin, fight us for the Elder, otherwise you ain't getting it.
Well, Viper does manage to get the Rift Scuttler here, so is going to have permanent vision, or irremovable vision, for the next little while.
And well, right now this is really big for them, because Griffin, they know this is ultimately going to come down to a 50-50 on the Elder. If they get it, there's 2 questions. At what cost does Tarzan just end up dying for it? But are they still in a position to turn with the Elemental Drakes, bolstering all of their damage?
There's just no way to get it without significant costs, and right now it's going to be the cost of an inhibitor and maybe more if Akali wants to try to solo it. Not seeing that, but Griffin say, well, we didn't pick for this, we didn't comp for this. You can have your inhibitor, but can Griffin do anything?
Yeah, feels like it's already been done, Papa Smithy. Teddy does so much damage. That inhibitor did not last very long at all. First one does fall. Not going to push any further forward. As SKT wait for another minion wave, not actually moving into any other side lanes where inner turrets are still available.
They're looking for a round warp, maybe.
Potentially. Finally, with a gold lead, I believe almost for the first time here for SKT. It's half the health bar of Viper goes missing.
Round warp into the Elder Pit. They've been able to defend this one. They know that Griffin is in their base.
They've got a guard horse here as well, Papa. Teleport going to come in as Lahens gets into position. Chovy inside the pit. The ultimate comes down from Lahens as Viper. Has to go golden and steal as the Pantheon man drops his way into a 4-stack Elder Drake. SKT is still going to be able to grab the kills. Teddy finds even more. It was a heroic steal, but I just don't think it's heroic enough, because SKT have routed Griffin and there's only a Chovy that remains.
Chovy's going to try to buy time. He can't do it. What did you get? Elder Dragon. What did it cost? Everything. SK Telecom T1. I think this end it right now.
Exactly. Chovy is going to have to try and go back and do something very impressive, but the stop of the back, and SKT have taken game number 1. This is incredible. Griffin tried to run them around for so incredibly long. It didn't matter. In the end, SKT team fought and they won.
The SKT faithful explode, outnumbering Griffin 3-1 it feels like. in Jump Shill, and man,
draw your attention to the post-game breakdown because this shows exactly what Griffin was trying to do this game, and they actually did it very, very well. You can see the goal graph was all Griffin until SKT finally managed to utilize all the damage potential that they had.
But Atlas, guess what a participation medal doesn't get you? It doesn't get you
Not
that
a lot of
first Griffin
championships.
title. It doesn't get you a seat at MSI, and it doesn't get this curse off the back of Griffin of being the best team to never get international because they just can't get it done in the big one.
And I mean, SK Telecom, I mean, they came out with a message here in game number 1. And if you're Griffin, you probably feel a little bit uncomfortable. You came into game number 1, you had Pantheon Talia, probably caught SK Telecom by surprise. Everything was going your way early game, and then you still couldn't figure out a way to get through it.
Yep, that's exactly right. But guys, remember, that's only game 1. We still have a whole best of 5 to go. We're going to take a short break. And then when we come back, Griffin versus SKT will continue.